So when you start the game up, I had been told to play this from a mutual friend. He said, it's a cool visual novel, you'll like it. It's got a funny twist, don't worry. And I was like, okay.
Alright.
So I start the game up because it's free. It's a free game to play. This was before it was on Steam, but you can. It's free no matter what because it runs off. It runs off of like a freeware visual novel engine called Renplay.
Mm-hmm.
But so you start the game up, and immediately it comes up with a warning saying, "This is not a game for the faint of heart," and like there are some shocking and disturbing moments in the game, which immediately I'm kind of like, okay, good to know, I guess. So then you start the game up and you play as just this generic high school boy. You can name him whatever, and basically you're starting your normal day of high school, and you run into your childhood friend Sayori, who you haven't been talking to much recently, and she basically passive-aggressively forces you to join the literature club, which she is the vice president of.
Yes.
And then you meet the three other members. So there's Sayori, your friend, and then you meet Natsuki, the tsundere.
Yep.
Yuri, the tall, shrinking violet.
Mm-hmm.
And Monika, the club president, who is very, she's a bit unsettling. Hey guys, and welcome back to this special Halloween-themed episode of the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. On this episode, me and Alex are going to be taking a look at the world of indie horror games, particularly the ones you can find on PC and Steam, and just some of the more interesting concepts they bring in, some of their more deep and complex narratives with such simple gameplay and packages. Honestly, it is a really cool concept, and honestly, some of them are quite deceptive, too, at the same time. But anyways, guys, thanks again for joining us on this special edition of the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. And thank you once again for joining us as we discuss the games that shaped us. Let's begin. So, how you been?
I've been okay. I mean, it was a short week, but I feel like short weeks are also the most chaotic because you just have so much stuff to do after that. But other than that, pretty good.
It was one of those weeks, where nothing went wrong, but nothing really went right either.
It was just kind of a meh.
It was a very productive week, I'll say that. I got a lot of shit done.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got stuff done.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not really anything like fun. Like I did.
Yeah. Work,
came home, exercised.
Yeah.
Blog posts. Oh, and then I guess we should announce our podcast is now going to be on YouTube.
Woo! YouTube!
As an additional source. I think what I'm going to do is once we're caught up with episodes, because we're like really behind on uploading them, because it takes time. But I think what I'm going to do once we're caught up is I'm going to release it initially on the podcasting stuff, and then I'll release the that week's episode like a week later on YouTube.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Kind of delay it by a week.
Yep.
I think I'll do that. But at the same time, I'll also announce that my YouTube channel has been revived.
Yes.
I completely blanket wiped it of everything.
Goodbye, the boat videos.
Everything basically pre-2013.
You had like a boat video that had like 30,000 views, and all I thought of was that there was some teacher that used that for a class, and you just ruined their class.
One of them had like over 1 million views.
Yeah, I was like, what? I'm telling you, there's a teacher that used to rely on that video, and you just ruined their teaching plan. You ruined their lesson plan, Bill.
You gotta understand, Alex. YouTube was a very different place in 2007.
Oh yeah, no. I'm joking. I'm just joking. But that's what I thought of when you took it down. I was like, there's some teacher out there who's just like, no.
But yeah, there was. So that's back up, and I'm planning on doing more with it. More to be announced on my Instagram in the future.
Nice.
But yeah, that was a crazy blast to the past. And then I ended up going because I ended up actually going through my old subscriptions like that I subscribed to, and oh my god, I was still subscribed to Fred. Damn it.
You were subscribed to Fred? Isn't that like? Didn't that channel like get bought by like another company and they just started
some
posting
Chinese
their own?
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that, I was like, oh man, I delete that.
delete. I
think
gotta go through my subscriptions because I know I'm still subscribed to some people I don't want to be subscribed to.
I dumped that. I got rid of I think I was still subscribed to Smosh. I unsubscribed from Smosh.
Oh, Smosh has been dead for a while.
Well, actually, they're owned by Red and Link now.
Yeah. Well, I think Rhett and Link like saved them during that whole like. I forget what it was.
The company that owned them.
Yeah, just like left and dumped them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
God, Smosh. What a time.
Remember
YouTube.
when we were watching Smosh? Like it was that time of where they did like the food battles. Remember those?
I remember the teleporting fat guy. Personally.
Oh yeah, teleport. I still know that.
Back when YouTube was fun. Now when it's like.
Now it's all
everything
serious.
has to be like super over the top and like.
In pedos.
Highly. Well, that's a subsection.
In pedos.
Let's not go there.
Teleport. Now it's stuck in my head. It's gonna be in my head for the rest of the night. I hate you. Why'd you bring that up? God damn it.
Yeah, but I completely cleaned out my subfolder, and it was fun. It was fun reliving like old 2007 era YouTube back when it was a very different place.
Oh yeah, but kind of speaking of 2011 YouTube, that also kind of will lead us into our topic. But before we do that,
what are you drinking today?
Oh, well, I see what you're drinking. You're drinking a Truly hard seltzer, yes?
Yeah.
Truly's okay. They're not my favorite. I sometimes think they're too sugary.
So the Vizzies were too aggressive. This one is meh. It's not terrible.
Okay.
It's not really sugary because there's not really any sugar in it.
No, some of them I've had are too sweet. Maybe they were flavored though. Maybe there was something else I had.
Some of the flavors are too aggressive.
Yeah.
I bought a sampler pack and I was like, yeah, these are okay. I'm gonna stick with my personal favorites because they're just better.
I have my favorite drink that's in a can, and it's the Dell's Rhode Island Hard Tea, and it's honestly my favorite thing to drink now. I love it. And it doesn't smell like eggs. So, did we talk about that on the last podcast, or did we?
Yeah, we did.
Well, I still have a couple of those, and I'm avoiding drinking them because I tried another one, and yes, that one also smelled like eggs. So, I don't know what they're doing, but it smells like eggs. And I don't like it. I like eggs. I like it. Oh wait, I'm
we did talk about this because we that's how we segued into a topic about Dan Snyder and his feet.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't want to be reminded of.
Yep. Well, sucks to suck.
Yeah. So before we get into our topic, have you been watching any anime lately, or?
Yeah.
You sound guilty about that.
A little.
Why?
I bet you can guess what I'm watching.
One Piece?
Yeah. But I convinced a friend of mine to start watching it. So then he was telling me about it, and I was like, shit, now I want to rewatch it. So I started
Okay.
But I also discovered that they had a bunch of specials on Funimation, so I just went and watched all of those that I missed out on. And then I bought the movies. I bought 2 of the movies. I bought Heart of Gold. I don't know if it's Heart of Gold or it's like it was One Piece Gold, the movie. And then I got the crap. I can't. It was like the two newest ones I bought, and I thought they were both pretty good.
Hmm.
But yeah, I broke my promise. I didn't watch anything new. I just I started watching One Piece again. I'm a failure.
It's alright, I rewatched one of the old Inuyasha movies recently.
Good job. Proud of you.
The second one that's definitely not canon.
Oh, is that the kissing one?
Yeah, the one where, the one where Naraku dies at the beginning of it.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't even remember Nuraku dying. I just know that one is the kissing
Well,
one.
he comes back at the end, because of course he did.
Yes.
Yeah. That one's actually one of the better ones, though. The third one's still the best, though.
Bill, guess what's in my head?
What?
Teleporting to Bliss.
Yeah, okay, move on.
It never will leave. It will be in my head forever.
We do have a topic for this episode.
We do?
Because believe it or not, this is actually our Halloween special. If you couldn't guess by the weekend this has been posted.
Spooky. And the thumbnail. Because it's
Yeah.
spooky.
No, it's pronounced spoopy.
Spoopy. Spoopy.
Yeah. But anyways, for this episode, we're going to be actually, as Alex alluded to earlier, taking a trip back to early YouTube 2011 with indie horror games. Back in the early days of... Back when, like, RPG Maker and other sorts of like, engines and, like, other things could be, like, used to make these freeware games that anyone could experience.
And the YouTubers, the video game Let's Players, played them non-stop.
Oh yeah, because they had to jump on the trend.
Oh yeah, they all were at the time. Like all of them were. But I mean,
That's
I'm
how-
actually not mad at it because it did introduce me to a lot of these games. So can't
And it
complain.
also led to a lot more of them being made and a lot of
Yes.
them growing communities.
Yeah.
Now, there was a lot of these things back in the day.
Oh yeah.
A lot. And,
There was a lot good, but also a lot bad.
well, see, I don't remember the bad ones. I only remember the good ones.
Ah.
And honestly, the first one I can really remember going back is Ebe.
Ebe. A
It's
classic.
pronounced Ebe, right?
I believe it's Ebe, or I think some people say Ib, but I believe it's Ebe. But I don't
Yeah.
know exactly. So, Ebe or Ib. Potato, potato.
I believe it's Ebe, but yeah, Ebe.
Mm.
This one takes me back because this was like one of the first real. I'd always known about RPG Maker because I mean I have the PS1 RPG Maker, and this was like one of the first times I've ever seen like a real like legitimate game really made on RPG Maker for the time.
Yes.
And I remember coming across it and I being like, oh, it's not really an RPG, but it uses the engine effectively, and it's a horror game involving a little girl in a nightmarish museum.
Yeah. I feel like, too, that game, like, you can almost connect with more because I think almost everyone's been to a museum at least once, whether it be a school trip or something. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
you can really put yourself in the shoes of the character at that point. Like, just imagine going to a museum and getting locked there, like, stuck and no one's around you, and then the museum is coming to life. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like that section in the game, like obviously, guys, this is a spoiler podcast. So
Yeah, so, sorry.
Spoiler warning.
Trick or treat. Your trick is spoilers.
Yeah, but anyways, I always remember like the first when you enter like the evil the evil dimension with like the evil like art museum.
Mm-hmm.
The second you go you see the first painting that like the guy walks past in the background,
Yep.
and it's like, whoa, like wait a minute.
Wait
It
a
was already
minute.
the atmosphere was already creepy enough because this game has a great like soundtrack.
Oh,
and
yeah.
especially for its minimalistic art style.
And that's a reoccurring thing too with these RPG make horror games. A lot of them have excellent soundtracks. Like you'll
Oh,
be
yeah, 'cause they
surprised
gotta-
the music is really good and very fitting to like the themes and like the locations in the games.
a lot of the times they can only do so much with the engine that they're dealt with. So a lot of times they put a lot of effort into the music and the storytelling
Yeah.
to really hook in the player. Because there's a point in Eve where you see this really hilarious cutscene that's like drawn on MS Paint. That's really dark, actually, in hindsight. But
Yeah.
like there's a lot of really dark shit in Eve. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
there's a bunch of puzzles where you because you eventually run into two additional party members, Gary, who's a cool fan favorite, and then was the girl's name Mary? I don't remember.
I believe it was Mary.
But there's like a series of puzzles where they get split up, and you have to like do certain things with Gary, and then the girl, and then certain things with the girls.
Yeah.
And it has a great like touch where Eve is supposed to be like she's like a 9 or 10-year-old girl or something.
Yeah, she's only a kid, like very little.
Yeah, she's very young, and a lot of the plaques that she reads, like she won't be able to understand them.
Yeah.
So you need like Gary to translate for you to know what it says.
Mm.
And then there's like a certain room where you go in and it's all full of like bunnies and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But that's implied to be Eve's childhood, like her basically her psyche is starting to like crack a little bit, and so she's just seeing, because when you go in that room with Gary, it's a bunch of these really fucked up looking dolls.
Yeah.
So it's implied that Eve's mind is basically like tricking her into not seeing the dolls, basically. Yeah. And then there's also the infamous doll room scene from later on in the game.
Yup. Oh, it scared me.
Where did you get out of the room, or did you not get out of the room?
I got out of the room. I got out. But I mean,
I've seen what happens when you don't, and Jesus Christ.
I know it's scary. Well, it's really actually one thing that's really amazing about these games, that even with the minimum graphic capabilities and like it puts you in a spooky environment for most of these games. Like with so little, like I could watch a scary movie and not get scared, but I can play one of these and I'm scared. Like it just really plays with your psyche and stuff.
Oh yeah. And then, like another thing too with a lot of these is they all have multiple endings because you got to stretch out. Gameplay time, especially because not a lot of these are very long games. They make up their time in how much different like little things you can find.
Oh yeah. Well, and a goal will be like to play the game, so because maybe the first time you play it and you get like the bad ending and you're like, well, this kind of sucks. I gotta figure out what I did wrong. Or maybe you start with the good ending and you're like, you know what, I just want to be in some pain. So then you want to play and figure out what the bad ending is. So.
Well, sometimes you try going to get the bad ending and you end up getting the good ending, so you have to actually figure out what you did, what you didn't do.
Yeah, you gotta figure out what you have to do wrong.
Yeah. Like, some of them are really fun like that. And I remember Eve, because Eve had a bunch of different endings. And I guess apparently the creator added more later on.
I'm going to check now. Eve endings. I just don't know how many.
I know the good ending where Eve and Gary escape. I know there's a bad ending where only Eve escapes and Gary dies. There's the worst ending where Eve is trapped in the painting forever.
So I'm looking at it now, and so the first ending, which is the good ending, is the promise of a reunion, which is basically where her and Gary, they promise to meet. Like Eve gives Gary her handkerchief, so they promise
and you
to
can
meet
meet
again.
him later in the museum after you get out, and he'll recognize her.
And then I think the second one that's also good, but not as good, is that like, Eve doesn't give Gary the handkerchief. And
they don't remember each other.
They don't remember each other, and
but they both escaped.
There's 3 variations of Eve all alone. So there's that's a lot to say. Oh, there's 4. Just kidding. There's 4.
Yeah, let's not go over every single one of them. I just know. I know the worst ending is the one that's like that you can fall into by accident right at the end of the game, where Gary's about to pull you out of the painting, and Eve's quote unquote mother shows up and tells her to come with her. We're leaving. And if you go with Eve's mother, you get trapped in the painting forever because it's an illusion.
That's so scary.
That one's I believe that one's the worst ending or something. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
But that was like one of like the first real games where you had a ton of different endings, and like it was like a lot of like little shit you had to figure out.
There was 10 endings in total.
So originally, when I played, there was only like 4, I believe, or 5. So the creator definitely added more.
Mm.
But yeah, so Ebe was a fun one, and then one of the other ones I absolutely remember from way back in the day was the Witch's House.
Yes,
Which was a. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the Witch's House was also infamous for its many different endings.
Yeah, and it's also very fucked up.
Oh yeah.
From it.
Oh yeah, the Witch's House. Well, I feel like the Witch's House throws you for the biggest like whiplash at the end of like what? Like the biggest twist ending. So I mean, do you want me? Can I spoil it this time?
Yeah, you explain because you probably know it better than I do.
So the Witch's House, the premise is that you basically you wake up in this like outdoor field area and you try and leave, but you can't leave. So you try and leave. There's like roses and stuff, and you can't get by them. So you have to go and you have to keep walking. You'll see a cat occasionally, and you can chat to the cat. But then you go in this house, and it's the witch's house. And you're this girl with blonde hair. And as you go through, you're basically like trying to get through the house to get to a certain room, so you can get like a potion to get rid of the roses. But also, you're trying to find something in the end. But it never really tells you until you're just kind of going through. You know, because it doesn't really say it in the game, right? Like, you're just kind of going towards the end of something, but you don't really know. But as you go through, you start reading these diaries and these journal entries, and these are the entries of the witch, and it's basically talking about her life. So, but the main ending is that when you go to the final room, you end up in this very bloody room, and you're like, what the hell happened here? And then you find the witch, and the witch basically, the ending is basically a chaser, where she chases you all through the house, and you have to find your way back.
On her bloody stumps and no eyes.
Yeah, she has
to rip her eyes out.
Yeah, she gouged her eyes out, and she had no legs. She cut her legs off because the witch was in a lot of pain. She had some sort of like disease or illness that made her super in pain. But she basically chases you through the house, and as you leave, she'll chase you, and you get to the field, and she'll follow you to the field where she'll eventually die. I think it's multiple ways she'll die. Either like she'll just kind of die because you leave her there, or the character's father will come and will shoot her. But the big twist ending is that you were the witch all along.
Yeah, she stole your body and put you inside her old body, which is incredibly dark.
Especially when the father character comes and basically shoots her, because she also can't speak.
Oh yeah, because I think she drank acid or something.
Yeah, so she asked. So, and the most fucked up thing is that like the witch herself gouged her eyes off, cut up her legs, and put like this the medicine she didn't drink, but she gouged her eyes out and cut off her legs, and then asked the young girl to switch bodies with her, and it wouldn't be permanent. But little did she know it was going to be permanent. She wasn't going to give her body back, and as a way to give her pain medicine, she gave her like the drink that made it so she couldn't talk. So when she tried calling out for her dad not to shoot, she couldn't speak properly.
Yeah, it's like super dark.
It was the most messed up ending, and like I remember like watching it, and then watching whoever, I think I watched like PewDiePie play it, and I remember his face of just like utter like like his utter shock, but I had the same face on because I was also just like, what? Like, no, that's scary.
I remember when I played it, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Because you don't see it coming.
No, it definitely, because even going back and like when you read the journals, like it doesn't seem like that. It just seems like you're reading the witch's diary. It doesn't really give you any inclination. I guess the only thing could be is when you talk to the cat. The cat could only be...
the cat was supposedly, I believe, the way you're supposed to figure it out.
Which, thinking about it now, I do agree with that, because like there's at points where the cat is like mean to you, where the cat's like he's like, huh, like no wonder you know your way around here so easily since it's your house. But at the time you're listening to that, you're just like, all right, whatever. Like, what's this cat on about?
Yeah. I remember that. It actually ended up getting its own like spin-off like manga too.
Oh, it did? Really?
Yeah, that went over like the witch's like backstory before.
Oh, wow.
I remember seeing something about that at one point.
I gotta look that up now. I'd actually be really interested in like reading that because.
I don't know if it ever got translated. I didn't look into it very deep. But
Well, you'll be surprised by what the internet does.
oh yeah, well, I mean, there's probably a fan translation.
Oh, The Diary of Ellen. You can buy it on Amazon.
Oh, well, the more you know.
Yes.
But anyways, so then probably the most famous of all these RPG Maker styled indie horror games. This one's not even really a horror game so much as it's a surreal experience, which is Yume Nikki.
Yes.
Quite possibly the most famous of all of these games.
Oh, yeah.
And it's mostly because it doesn't really have a narrative.
No.
You basically, so that jump in whenever you have something to say, but basically the plot is you're basically a young, I believe she's a teenage schoolgirl,
Yes.
but she's like she's a shut-in, like she never leaves her house.
She's like
There's a
otaku?
term for it. I forget the term,
Yeah.
but when you play the game, you're basically stuck in her room, and all you can do is go on her balcony. You can't leave the room. The door, she'll just shake her head because she's like super antisocial, I believe, or something like that. Or you can play a computer game on the console or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can sleep, and when you sleep, you enter this dream kind of like scape. And basically, the game is just a series of different areas that you can find randomly across the dreamscape, and you basically are supposed to just find different. You find different. I forget what they're called in game, but they're like these little power-ups, I guess, that do little things. Like one's a bike, one's a knife, one's a
Isn't it effects?
just random effect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And you basically just have to explore this world, and it's incredibly cryptic. Like there's no real direction. Doesn't explain anything to you. It's just kind of random exploration and just finding shit through these extremely surreal areas.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's one point where you end up on this like spaceship, and it's like an alien in there, and then he just dies, and then
You're just like,
You
all
go-
right, you've
you go back.
experienced that. Like,
yep.
yeah.
And it's all subtlety. Like there's no. So it's literally everything is basically explained to you via the art of implication and like making you think, be outside the box.
Oh, yeah.
Like the most infamous part of the game is probably the face scene,
Yes.
where you have to go through this incredibly cryptic thing where you go through this one random like doorway that you have to open up via like a stab thing, and then you enter this room, and it's literally just a screamer face, like the one screamer in the entire
Yeah.
game. And she like instantly wakes up because you can exit the dream by like pinching yourself, but that instantly wakes her up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of subtle implication that that's supposed to be her father, I believe, because I believe she's abused. There's a lot of subtle implications in the background,
Yes.
but
It's
there's
different.
also there's another infamous, probably the most infamous scene in the game is the White House in the Snow, where there's normally a girl there that you talk to, but every occasional whenever you flip the white light switch, the girl will change into this thing called, I forget the name. It's like,
Is it. Let's see.
yeah, it's gonna bug me. What is it called? It has a weird name.
Monaco?
No, it's
What does it look like?
it's like this really jacked up looking face thing.
Is it Taco Fuzin?
No, 1 second.
Oh, wait, that's.
Uboa.
Oh, Ubo. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it like sends you off to this like really freakish like area that you can't escape. The only way you can get out of is by pinching yourself awake. And it's like in the background there's like boob-shaped mountains with this weird spider thing grabbing them. It's like, what the fuck?
You're like, what is going on here?
Like, there is a lot of really disturbing imagery in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And the big spoiler warning here, the most fucked up part about the game is your goal in the game is to find all the different effects.
Mm-hmm.
And once you place them in like the main central hub, they turn into these eggs.
Yep.
Once you've found every single one and got every egg, you can return to your normal world, and you go out on the balcony, and suddenly there's a staircase that goes over the railing.
Yep.
And you go over it, and the game ends. She kills herself.
Yeah.
It's like the most what the
yeah.
fuck ending.
But it's the most what the fuck game, you know. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it's a fitting ending for what it is, but
And it's spawned so many. I think it also has its own manga now.
it does.
The creators also really like kind of like super like hard to like really find any information on, like Secluded.
Yeah. It's
Like
very
they don't really give a lot of info. The most that they've done is I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but they've they greenlit a like 3D
Yeah.
remake of the game that's
Yep.
I've heard very mixed things about, but thankfully the original game is still free to play. So
Yeah. It's still free to play on Steam. It's definitely recommend
oh yeah,
you do that.
and it's spawned a massive like cult following of just like fan games and like
Yeah.
fan sequels, and like there's a ton of Yume Nikki styled like spin-offs now.
Well, it's just like it's very fascinating because it's one of the major ones that's the most, I'd say, different from all the other ones, because it really is very surreal, and it's not like you're fighting things in that game like some other
Yeah,
ones.
it's not so much a game. It's more of like
It's
an
more
experience.
of an yeah. It's an that's what I was gonna say.
You know
it's
what
an
I compare it to?
experience.
Not the same genre at all, but I compare it to the Stanley Parable, where it's not so much a game. It's a thing you experience.
Yeah, it's a thing that, and I definitely recommend everyone take a try at it because
There is
I mean, it's
out
free.
of all, oh yeah, and out of all the fan projects, the one I'd probably recommend the most is Yume Tuki,
yes.
which is a fan direct sequel. That one it's really interesting, but it's also like super fucked up. Like they took the surreal horror elements to like a max in that one.
Oh yeah, if you want something more spooky, then you should definitely.
Hell, any of the spin-offs really.
Yeah.
But before we move on to any more, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Woo! Pause. Oh no. Pause. Stop.
And we're back.
We're back.
All right. So the next one that I remember vividly from back in the day is the first entry in a series called, you said it was the Strange Men's trilogy or series?
The Strange Men Anthology.
Anthology. And that one would be The Crooked Man.
Yes.
And I always remembered this one because of its incredibly unsettling
Art style and even
Yeah.
just the tone. The tone was, this one made me feel the most unsettled off the bat. Like,
yeah. So this is one of the few RPG Maker games that wasn't actually made on RPG Maker. It was instead made on I think it's called the Wolf RPG Editor.
I think you're right about that.
It's for all intents and purposes, it's basically the same thing. It just works slightly different.
Yeah, it's
slightly different interface.
Yes.
But so this one is interesting, I will say, because this one I would not recommend to anyone who's like kind of faint of heart, because this one is a screamer game.
Oh yeah, this one will scare you. It scared me.
I don't find screamers scary. I just find them annoying.
Well, if you're jumpy like me, you'll find it scary.
I find screamers annoying. I'll say that, but So, okay. The Crooked Man, the first entry in the series. This is the one I have the most experience with because I haven't played all of them. I only played the first two.
Yep.
Just because I don't have time for this. I think at the time I played them, the second one was the only one that... It was only the first two out.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so the Crooked Man... I have mixed feelings on this one.
Oh, okay.
Because as games themselves, I don't think they're very good. The
Okay.
game.
That's
the game.
understandable. Yeah. The story,
'Cause
though.
The gameplay is very frustrating at times and can be really... Some of the puzzles are just stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those games like where you have to run away. You're getting chased by the character.
Yeah.
By the villain character. And if you
And
don't enjoy that, you won't enjoy these games.
And the combat is very shit.
Yeah.
Like, the combat is not good.
I feel like partially that has to do with the engine as well. I feel like the engine wasn't set up for that, so...
I think he was trying to do... Or she, I don't know if it was male or female, but...
I believe it's... they said the name was Yuri, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
also
never
could-
sure, to be honest.
You never
But,
know.
I don't want to assume. I'll say that. But, yeah, what makes The Crooked Man compelling, though, is it has a phenomenal story. Honestly, this should have been a visual novel.
Yeah, Well, I agree. Well, I also feel like he should have made, like, written the novel and made, like, a manga or something. Because, like, I feel like people would pick that up, like, instantly.
Well, 'cause So it's a 4-part story that's... They partially overlap. But the section I remember the most is The Crooked Man. Because basically the storyline is you play as the main character, I forget his name. David. And he's moving into a new apartment.
He, like, broke up with his girlfriend.
He had just recently broken up with his longtime girlfriend. And his best friend and his best friend and his friend's fiance are helping him move in. Mm-hmm. And it's later explained that his mother has a terminal illness that's like causing her to like forget her memories. And basically she's losing her marbles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really depressing scene because it's like the poor guy, like his mother doesn't even know who he is, and she's like telling the doctors to get him out of the room because she thinks he's a threat or something.
Yeah, when in fact it's like he's her son.
Yeah. So he's living in this apartment by himself, and he's hearing all these like strange like noises and getting these messages in the apartment.
Mm-hmm. And
the place is clearly haunted, even though his friends are like, "You're losing it, man. It's not that bad."
Yeah, and he's like, "No, it's bad."
He ends up finding this like note, basically from like the previous tenant, and he's trying to find. He basically goes on a mission to find the previous tenant.
Yeah.
Which leads him to a number of different locations over the course of the game, where he runs into these different characters who are all. They're basically they all have their own struggles, and as you're running into you help these people with their struggles.
Yes.
You'll run into the Crooked Man, who is a guy whose neck is like completely crooked, like
broken, and he has like
jacked
a
up.
freaky like black just black sockets for eyes and like this
Oh, yeah.
creepy creeper. I'm looking at an image of him right now, and he's terrifying, and I hate
Oh, yeah.
his existence.
It's not a settling like photo at all, like
No.
image at all, but it's effective for what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you continue on to like go through these areas, and you help these characters you run into as you go through the game. Meanwhile, your friends are trying to find you because you're missing, because you've gone on this strange journey without telling anybody.
Without telling anyone.
But eventually you get to the final area where you finally find the supposed location of the previous tenant.
Yes.
And it's eventually revealed after you defeat the Crooked Man once and for all, and you find the final resting place of the previous tenant. He's hung himself, and his neck is twisted crooked, and you realize the previous tenant was the Crooked Man.
Yeah.
And every single one of the people that you run into were facets of his life. Like the girl that you rescue was like a girl that he had feelings for.
Yeah.
The doctor character you run into was like a personification of his, like, he was in school at the time trying to become a doctor.
Yeah.
There's a little boy you run into that's like another personification of his character, and it's a really crazy story, and you basically finally let him rest, and then the game ends with David's mother unfortunately passes away.
Yeah.
But he gets back together with his ex.
Yeah.
Who both of them are later, they're married by the fourth game, I believe.
Aww.
Because they come back. But it's the story. I'm not doing it justice with my explanation.
No, yeah,
no,
you're doing okay. It's definitely. I feel like though, I feel like explaining it though isn't the best way because I feel like people.
You want a good
really
explanation. You want a good explanation. If you don't want to play it and you want a good explanation, watch Nitro Rad's video. He does a phenomenal job explaining it. But yeah, it should. It would have been much better as a visual novel because the gameplay is just so.
It's
average.
Not for everyone. Yeah. It's definitely definitely a good story. Like I remember at the end, and when you like figure out like that the Crooked Man was basically like the guy you were looking for. It's kind of like it kind of hits you hard. Like you're just like, oh my god, like this person.
The best scene in the game, spoiler warning, is at the end where David visits his grave, and he just leaves a pack of cigarettes because it's implied the guy was a smoker.
Yeah.
Throughout the game, so he leaves him a pack of cigarettes and basically just kind of has like a final like closing on that arc.
Like a final goodbye.
Like a lot of these games, it's crazy how they have just such like twist endings that are like, what?
Oh yeah. No, I think all of them.
Most of them do. Some of them aren't as abrupt. But another classic from that era that I always remember is there two games from the same developer, Mad Father and Misao.
Yes.
I'm more familiar with Misao personally, but Mad Father is also a very good game.
Yes.
They're the same kind of like, they're not like RPGs, but they're in the same style where you play them from like that top-down perspective, and they're heavily story-based games with a lot of puzzle-solving elements. Both of them were originally made on the RPG Maker engine, and they were later remade with better graphics later down the line. And they're both available on Steam now.
Better graphics and better art.
Yeah.
They're both...
Misao... They're both very good. Misao I remember mostly because of its really fucked up story.
Oh, yeah. But Mad Father also's story is also kind of fucked up. All of these stories, like all these games, stories are pretty fucked up, I would say.
There's a lot of psychological elements.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Misao is harder to explain because it has a very confusing story where it's basically about a
girl is missing.
You're in a girl went missing in high school, and you play as a character, and basically everybody in the school is kind of a piece of shit. And as you play the game, you start kind of uncovering different secrets about what happened, and then you later learn that the girl was beaten to death and like raped and then killed. Yeah. And then her ghost is haunting the building because of how she died. And
also, funky spoiler, in the original version, she was also like dismembered. But I think they took that out, and you had to find her body parts, but they cut that out for the streamlined version.
Yeah. I remember that and it's like, it's really depressing, like,
oh yeah.
Because the girl, not only was like her death incredibly brutal and uncomfortable, but also it's implied that she had no friends and was like constantly bullied.
Yeah.
And it's just, especially nowadays, where especially if you were bullied as a kid, it's like that hits you hard.
Well, and it's sad. The sad truth though is that that's happened, like, to someone. That's happened to people. Like they get bullied, they get hurt and tortured, and then suddenly, like, they come home to something even worse. And or like, maybe someone that they relied on wasn't as great as they were.
That's a very common recurring theme in RPG Maker games.
No, it is, but unfortunately, it's a common recurring theme in life.
Oh, yeah.
It's really sad, but it's It's really true.
Like,
So I feel like
the worst part too is in Misao is as you uncover the story, you later find out that the one who raped and killed her was the teacher
yeah,
who she went to for help.
yeah, the
And
teacher
it's
who
like,
she went to rely on and she couldn't.
and you
even-
don't really see it coming either because he doesn't come
No.
off as an awful character at first.
No, he seems like this like good teacher guy. But that, and it's actually funny though because like there's a choice. A lot of people, they make the wrong choice and they kill
yeah.
the wrong person. They save him, but in fact, like he was the bad guy after all. And that's like where you kind of, after that is when you find out the whole story, like what really happened, and then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, then you
what
feel
did
like
I
a
do?
massive piece of garbage after.
Yeah, and then you die. Doesn't your character get killed by him?
Yeah, I know you die. Well, you usually always die in the bad ending.
Oh yeah, I believe he kills you though. I believe he's like,
Yeah.
you know too much, time to die, and then he kills you.
Plus, Misao's ghost will never forgive you.
Yeah, no.
Because I believe it's implied that Misao had a crush on the main character or something.
Or well, no,
Or
she
they
had
were,
a
like,
crush on the. She had a crush on the blonde. I didn't think she had a relation to your character.
I thought they had some sort. I don't remember. It's been forever.
Well, I know
might
she
be
had a crush. She had a crush on the blonde character who you choose to kill or not kill. Because they
Okay.
used that to bully her at some point. And her childhood friend was one of the guys who did bully her. And,
Oh yeah, the childhood friend who's like the one character that's not entirely.
yeah,
He's
who's kind
not
of
a complete-
redeeming.
Yeah.
He gets run over by a car, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
He gets, like,
yeah.
plowed by a car. But I don't know what your character's relation to her is. I think it was more your character just wanted to be her friend. It was trying
Yeah,
to...
something like that.
I think
I'm
it was-
probably mixing up different RPG Maker games. to be
There's
honest.
so many. I think it was definitely that. I think it was that she wanted to make this connection to,
Yeah.
but she didn't know how because your character is kind of awkward, you know.
Well, your character is a personification of you,
Yeah, you're the character.
and you're awkward.
Yeah.
But anyways, do you want to go over Mad Father real quick before we move on, or?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want me to go into this one?
Yeah.
So the basic synopsis is your main character is this little girl, and her name's is it Anna or what was her? Aya Drevis. And she's
Yes.
11. And she lives with her parents. But before the story is told, you know that her mom had passed away, and she was living with exclusively her dad, and her dad's a doctor. And you slowly figure. So one day, she wakes up in the middle of the night, and basically the house is basically haunted, and every one of the father's victims comes to life as a freakish doll monster, because turns out your father wasn't a normal doctor. He was a doctor performing research because he wanted to make eternal beauty. So he made people into like dolls. So basically all these dolls she had in her house were once people, which is fucked up. So
Yeah.
basically you have to go through oh, and it's like the reason this all happens is because it was her mom's anniversary of her death, and she basically came back as revenge to like kill her father. Because spoiler, the father kills the wife. Because double
Yes.
spoiler, the father wanted to turn Aya into a doll so that she would be lovely and cute forever. So the mom ended up like, she was like, I'm going to take Aya away, and then he was like, no, you're not. Knife, and she died. So basically it's the mom to put a curse and basically to try and get, so you're going basically through the house, you have to avoid dolls, you have to solve puzzles, really similar to Misao. You run into a couple characters along the way. Like one of the characters is the doctor's nurse, Maria, who she was like, I think homeless, and the doctor took her in, and she loves the doctor, and the doctor also was cheating on the wife with Maria. This family is all messed up. But she was in on the experiments and stuff. But you go through, and eventually you end up. The whole time you're trying to save your father because you didn't realize that this was all your father's fault.
Yeah, even though the game's artwork clearly spoils
Oh yeah,
that.
the game clearly shows that yes, the father was doing some messed up things, but your character Aya, she doesn't know that, so you're playing to save your father, and then eventually there's like a bunch of different endings. I think the bad ending is when you let Aya's mom kill the father, because then Maria will kill you and turn you into a doll, because like as her lover's like last wish. And then there's another one where if you mess it up, he'll kill Maria and then he'll turn you into a doll, and that's scary. And then the true ending, which is honestly the most fucked up ending, is the end, which it doesn't sound like it at first, but it is that she'll save her father, and her mom will disappear, but then it will show you what happened in the past. So basically it shows Aya everything that happened to her mom, and then basically her father knows that she knows now, so he's like, alright, and then follows her with a chainsaw people, and he's basically trying to kill her so he can turn her into a doll. But
Yes.
she ends up getting help from Maria and from also this boy who is also a doll, who was also experimented on. He helps her get away. And basically, Maria and her set off and leave the mansion, and they end up finding their own place to live. But before she leaves, she picks up a notebook, which was her father's notebook, and takes it with her. And then there's a time skip where they show years later, and she's an adult now, and she runs a clinic. And there's also some dolls there.
Yeah.
So it's basically implied that Aya followed her father's legacy, and now she also kills people to turn them into dolls.
Aren't these games wonderful?
But I guess the only upside is, unlike the father, who was very violent, she actually, she basically, puts them to sleep. So they at least they don't die in painful ways, but it's still
Great.
fucked up. It's still fucked up.
I will say, though, I do very much enjoy the art style these two games have, because they're both, this and Misao are the same
Oh,
developer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have a very distinct, look to them.
Yeah. No, and the beautiful art, the art styles and the
The
little
2020
character
remakes,
models.
definitely.
Oh yeah, and the little character models are amazing. But also able to portray so much story and so much with just little pixel sprites is wonderful. And they're very fucked up, so they kind of leave you just even though you get the only one I will say is the good happy. Misao kind of left you feeling good because
Misao had a good ending.
But Mad Father didn't have a good.
No, that one had a twist.
Yeah.
Misao had a good ending, even though it's still kind of sad. But
yeah.
But anyways, moving on now to another one. I don't know if you've ever played this one before, but I played this one back in the day. It's a game called Dreaming Mary.
Dreaming Mary. It kind of sounds familiar.
So, this one is...
Oh, this one's really cutesy looking.
Okay, so here's the thing.
It's
don't
not
look
cutesy. It's not cutesy.
Don't look too far in.
Too late. I'm looking.
Okay, so Dreaming Mary is interesting because it's made using RPG Maker, but it's not a top-down. It's a side-scroller.
Oh, okay.
So the whole idea behind Dreaming Mary is you start out, it's very cutesy, as Alex applied, and you start out in this. You're playing in a dream world. You're sleeping, and you're in a dream world. You wake up in your character's bedroom, and you can basically go out, and you get a little audio message basically telling you to go explore and talk to the animal friends.
Yep.
So you go talk to each one, and they'll give you a little spiel, and the first one's a rabbit, the second one's a penguin, the third one's a fox, and then the fourth one is a boar that's very unsettling. And
he doesn't look that creepy to me. He doesn't look that creepy to me.
Hold on a minute.
Oh, God.
you go basically after you talk to the boar, he tells you go have fun, play with your friends. So you go and you go talk to the rabbit once, and then you do a little mini game. It's kind of like a guessing game where you have to just basically pay attention to the what the dialogue says, and you have to guess the right answer. Then you go to the penguin. He'll give you a little test. It's like you basically go around his library and you explore. And then so this is heavy spoilers, by the way, people, because this game has a very
I'm scared.
confusing plot
I'm scared.
at first. Then you go to the fox and you play. It's a hide and seek. So then you go talk to the boar again, named Boris. They all have names, but
Classic.
he goes and tells you you've had fun. Maybe we could have some more fun in a very unsettling way. But he tells you he needs to. You need to. He needs you to get these 4 seeds from the other, from the 3 seeds from the other characters before you can do more with him. So you go back to them. No. Actually, no. I'm skipping ahead. You go first. He tells you to go play a little bit more. So you go play and you do the same mini games, only they're a bit more complicated.
Oh, is it like setting you up to lose them, or?
So, listen here. So then, you'll go back, and then he'll tell you again. Then this time to go the third time to play them again, you'll get the seeds. Now, when you go to the bunny, because they're in order, you can do them any order, but I always went just down the line. So you go back to the bunny and you ask for the seed, and each one of them gets very unsettled when you ask for the seed.
Oh no!
And they'll give it to you if you can finish their mini. Well, you'll get it regardless, but they want you to play one last mini game, which is the most challenging version. Now, if you get it right, they'll be sad that you're going to leave, because getting the seeds is implying that you're going to leave the dream.
Yes.
They'll be sad that you're going to leave the dream, but they'll understand. If you fail the mini game, they'll get sinister all of a sudden, and the rabbit and fox in particular get kind of their models changed to these more like sinister looking ones with slasher smiles.
Oh no!
And if you fail the mini games, you'll still get the seed, but you'll lose one of your flower petals.
Okay.
And although the penguin, if you lose him, he doesn't get sinister. He'll just kind of get sad, and he'll basically tell you that he's worried about you, and he'll give you some context clues for later, basically.
Oh god, I'm scared.
So there's 2 possible endings you can get here. If you fail all the mini games, and you lose all your flower petals except for the last one, because Boris will only give you his seed okay, here's where it gets really fucked up. Okay. Boris will only give you his seed if you give him a flower petal.
Oh.
You're getting the symbolism here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you lose all the mini games and you only have the 1 flower petal left, you get the bad ending, which is basically you go into the tree with him and the credits play, and it's kind of it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
Now, if you pass all the mini games and you have all your flower petals still, the ending, it doesn't really change. No. It's actually more. It's ironically so this ending's considered the true ending.
Yes.
Which is really fucked up in hindsight.
Oh no.
But this ending, you'll go to the area and you can hear a demon voice in the background, going Mary, if you listen really closely. And basically, once you go into the tree, a pair of hands, you see some eyes in the tree, and a pair of hands reach out, and it just says, "Sweet girl, you're mine." And then as you're going down, the credits, in the bad ending, the credits end with the line that says, "The end of a dream." Yep. In this ending, you get to the end of a dream segment, and it keeps going down, and it all of a sudden cuts to the beginning of a nightmare.
I hate this.
No. Now here's where it gets even more bizarre.
Oh no!
So now,
I'm scared.
Obviously, after that, you get a text message saying you don't want this. This isn't the ending that. Well, basically, it'll be Are you satisfied? Every time you get an ending, a message pops up saying, "Are you satisfied with this ending?"
Mhm.
And you can either say yes or no. If you say yes, the voice in the back says, "Okay, I'll see you soon then," which is very fucked up in hindsight. We'll get to that later, though. The other ending basically lets you restart from the beginning.
Okay.
So when you restart from the beginning, we go back to that audio message you get at the beginning. The audio message actually mentions specifically that there is only 3 doors. Don't look for a 4th door.
Ah.
And it also says, be careful also about the penguin in room number 2. He mixes up truth and dreams and reality. Which is implied that you're supposed to listen to the penguin very closely.
Mhm.
So this time around, do the same thing, get all the seeds, get the good, that is, you need all the seeds and the flower, have all your flower petals still.
Mhm.
So you want all the good, you want to basically pass all the mini games.
Yep.
Then you get to Boris. Well, actually, before you talk to Boris, you can find that 4th door.
Yep.
Because here's the key: you can't actually pass you can't pass the penguins minigame without doing this.
Oh, okay.
So here's where it gets very meta. There's a 4th door that's obscured by some like scribbles in the background because the whole dream world's very like cutesy and kitty.
Yep.
You can go in that door though because it's not like locked; it's just hidden behind the scribbles. You go in and there's just it's like a fishbowl with like a fairy in it.
Yep.
If you break the fishbowl, the fairy flies back towards Mary's bedroom at the beginning of the game.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
follow it there, you'll all of a sudden see there's like a board in the background that's flashing. You can go through that, and then you all of a sudden are in a darker, more sinister dream world.
Oh.
And you basically exit the door. You exit that door because you need. So there's a key that you have to use to get out of Mary's bedroom at the beginning of the game. The way it is you take that key out of the door after it's open,
Yep.
and you go through the dream to the nightmare world. Then you'll turn the key to get out the door there because the key's the same key. Remember to take the key though. Don't leave the key in the door.
Don't leave the key.
So then you go in and there's a bench with a penguin, a fox, and a rabbit head on it.
Ugh.
And you can examine each one of them, and they'll give you the answer to get the perfect to pass the final test with all those animals.
Yep.
But if you go all the way down through the dark area, you'll find a boar's head on a pike at the end, and then a door that you can't cross.
Yep.
So it's implied, obviously, this is going to be important later.
Okay.
So then, after you do that, you can pass all of the puzzles essentially, and not get the bad ending.
Mhm.
Now, you get all the seeds, and you talk to Boris. This time, deny him and say no. He'll get super pissed,
Oh no.
and then basically tell you, "Come back when you're going to be reasonable." So then you go back to the nightmare world,
Uh-huh.
and it's all of a sudden like super unsettling. Like the area is all like flat, like everything's unsettling,
Yeah.
and it's very sketchy in there. So you go to the 3. You want to make sure you have your key from the door. Don't forget
Yep.
that key.
Nope.
Then you want to check the penguin, the bunny, and the fox again, and you'll get 3 more keys.
Yep.
What you do not want to do though is go into the thing, because if you do that, a giant shadow figure will catch you,
Yeah.
and then it just ends with one of the most unsettling. It's not even a jump scare. It's just a scare.
Yeah.
Basically, if it catches you, it's just this silver, like creepy face
Yeah.
that slowly
I saw a
gets
screenshot of that. I
yeah,
saw a
that slowly gets
I
closer
hate
to the
it.
screen,
I hate it.
and just
I don't
it's
like this game. It's freaking me out, and I'm not even seeing it. Like, I hate it.
All right. But anyways, what you do is rather than running into the shadow thing, you run the other way,
Yeah.
and it will it'll follow you. But as long as you go through into Mary's room and go back in the mirror, it can't catch you.
Yeah.
But one of the most subtle jump scares is once you enter, right before you go through the mirror, the whole room flashes for a split second, and like it's all like demonic, and it says "Don't run," like come back.
Yeah.
So then you go back through the thing, and you can go back to the 4th room where the fairy was,
Yep.
and there's a second mirror. You go through that mirror in there, and it takes you to the other side of the black area where the boar's head was, and you can go through the door because it's open now. and then you follow through the forest, and then you'll eventually get to this tree with 3 locks on it. You need... So remember, you got the 3 keys from the thing.
Yep.
But I also specified you need the 4th key from the door.
Yes.
So you can unlock the thing. Because if you don't grab the keys and you get to this tree, the shadow thing will eventually follow you and get to you, and then you'll get the worst ending.
Ugh.
But if you go through the tree, you open it up, all of a sudden the game shifts to the real world, where you've woken up. And you're no longer Mary, you're now Mari, who is a very plain girl who's locked in her room.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't... Here's the thing. If you did not bring the key from the door, you're locked in the room and you can't do anything. Except just go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But if you brought the key, you can unlock your door and go to freedom. And that's the good end. That's like the best ending.
Yeah.
Now, if you... So the entire game is basically... It's heavily implied that Mari is a character who's abused by her father.
Yeah.
Because it's a common theme in these games. And her mother is dead. Because one of the biggest implications is... when you get the worst ending, and if you say, do you agree with this outcome? If you say yes, the text says, okay, Mary, I will see you soon. It's implied that's her mother.
Yeah.
So it's a very...
Oh, like she's gonna die, basically.
There's a lot of shit going on in this game.
Oh. Man, that, like, it just made, like, just listening to it made me feel unsettled. Like...
Oh, you should imagine playing it and trying to figure this shit out. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, well, and especially I feel like what it mainly comes down to is, like, that, like, these situations happen in real life, and it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's terrifyingly...
The subtlety and, like, implications, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because another thing in that game that's implied too is that the other 3 characters, the fox, penguin, and bunny, are actually characters from or like are representations of actual people Mari knew.
Yeah.
Like I believe the fox was like her aunt.
Yeah.
Or like a maid or something, and the bunny was like also like a helper or something that she knew. And then because the penguin is implied to be her uncle.
Yeah.
Who was like a very good to her. That's why the penguin has such a positive attitude.
Yeah. And then the boar is her dad.
The boar is her father. That's the most obvious one. But yeah, that game's something else.
That left me unsettled, and like I didn't even like play it, and I just feel unsettled now. Like just gave me the creepy crawlies.
I played it once. I've watched a few other people's playthroughs of it. That's because that's how I figured out the other endings.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's surprising.
Oh. Just
Any other ones you got off the top of the head?
Well, we could talk about like, one of the most famous ones, I think, which has had many like sequels and like other versions of it as well. Was Corpse Party. Corpse
Party, yep.
Which that one's a classic. It's had like remakes. It's had like other spin-offs, secondary. Like it's had a whole bunch. It had an anime. Don't recommend watching. It's very violent. Not. I
just always like to simply describe Corpse Party. It's basically high school girls get fucked up the game.
Yeah, and then it's also another one with a very like fucked up story in the end.
Oh yeah.
No, because the main story of it's this class of high schoolers, these friends, and I think they're middle schoolers, and they're going to be going to high school, and they're going to be going separate ways, going to different high schools. So they sit around in the classroom and they do this paper doll game where they each take a piece of the paper doll, but when it's done incorrectly, they're brought to the world of the game at this basically haunted school, and the whole thing is like they're trying to figure out how to get out of the school, but they can't because it's haunted, and the only way to get out is to break the curse of the school. But as you know, as Bill said, it's a lot of girls getting fucked up and guys getting fucked up. It's just a lot of anime characters getting fucked up. Like, I remember one of the toughest things was like there's these 2 girl characters that are friends, and one of them is like going through I think like the world, like it talks about how the world is making their emotions like more high strung, like more exaggerated, so these thoughts that they may not really express are coming out farther. So one of the girls is like suicidal, and she's usually not suicidal, and then like she ends up like killing herself in the bathroom, and the friend is like desperately like the character's actually trying to save her, and in the end it just makes it worse, or she's like she still ends up dying, and you're just like, ugh! Like you're just playing, and you're like, oh my god, like, and there's nothing you can do.
Wait a minute. Anime girls dying in the bathroom? Is this the lost anime?
It could be. Who knows?
Is this what people have? Never mind. That's.
Oh God! Don't even jump down that van. But eventually, like you end up finding out that there's this this young ghost of a girl. I can't remember what her name is. But she wears like a red dress. And basically, she's haunting this school because she was killed in this school.
A recurring theme.
Well, she was killed, but also she was one of 3 kids who were killed in this school. But also, I wasn't sure if she also did the killing. I can't remember. She participated. It's real fucked up, but also her mom gets killed as well. And it's just like there's this other guy who ends up chasing you around like with this mask or this fucked up face. And like he actually isn't really the killer. It's more it's implied that he has like special needs. And he's basically coerced into doing it because like he can't really like pick for himself. He's kind of on like that level of the spectrum, it's implied. So he's basically kind of forced to do these things that he doesn't necessarily want to do. But as a ghost, he's doing it more because he's a ghost and he's angry.
Oh yeah.
But the main story is that the little girl who is the main reason of the curse, her mom was a nurse at the school, and the principal of the school tried to assault her. And
Wonderful.
And he failed at assaulting her, which instead pushed her down a staircase where she died and broke her neck. And then I believe he hid her body, and then I believe he hid her body, and then he killed her, the little child as well. So
Wonderful.
it's like, and then I think I remember now. So I think the little girl comes back as like a ghost and coerces the special needs man into killing other children. And then that's why there's other ghosts in the school as well. And you find that out throughout the story, and you have to like purify some. I don't know, but it's really fucked up and scary. I'm probably gonna have nightmares tonight. Honestly, I probably am.
Yeah, I watch these to go to bed half the time, so it doesn't even affect me anymore.
I can't with these. Like I'll get too I don't know why, but like psychological things, that's what freaks me out more. And a lot of these games are psychological, so I can't watch them before bed. I'm probably gonna have nightmares. I'm a child.
Well, I'm trying to think, because I know what the final game we're going to talk about is. I'm trying to think of any other standouts. I mean, there's Mageko Castle. That's another
that one
classic.
Yeah, that one is a classic because it's like, well, it's fucked up, but it's also it's strange. It's strange
borderline. That one's borderline batshit insane.
Yeah, but it also has like. Well, also, isn't the ending, like, the true ending is that, like, she's, like, in a coma in the castle or something, and, like, something, I don't know.
The one that I remember the most is the one where she becomes the freaking leader of the
Yeah, like, she, like, beheads it and puts it on her head or something.
And then you later find out her brother, who she's been searching for, is actually a fucking piece of shit. Yeah.
No. That one was fucked up too. Mageko Castle. And he made a couple of other games too, but
the whole plot of the game is that she's in this castle of these creatures, and their entire goal is to rape her. It's like, what the fuck?
Also, a common thing in these RPG horror games.
Yeah.
Because I know another pretty famous one. I think it was older. It was called Desert Nightmare. Do you remember Desert Nightmare?
It sounds familiar.
So this one, I don't think it was as popular, but I remember I either played it or I saw a playthrough. But it's basically like this girl who was on a road trip with her parents, and they got in an argument, and they like pulled her at a gas station, and she like turned around, and boom, they were gone. They're basically gone. She was like, shit. So she goes into this town, and it's like this old, like, non-populated town, and it's basically like she kind of finds out what's really going on in the town. And it is, it's pretty messed up. It's like there's like I don't know if it was aliens or just monster creatures, but there's monster creatures. She gets kidnapped at some point. Like I think she almost gets like raped at some point too. But basically like they
Of course.
I think she like has to basically her whole goal is to escape this desert town and get back to her family. But this one like it didn't do as well as some of the other ones.
It was early too, though.
It was
Not all of
yeah.
them.
It was earlier. But I think like the town was doing like sacrifices too and stuff, and I don't know. But this one was interesting because it was pretty dark. Pretty dark because I think there was like it was symbolism, and the town was doing like rituals too, and the rituals were also like kind of that's how in experiments and like I don't know. It was messed up. I just remember that it was being really messed up. Oh no, it's that stupid pink one again. Ugh, get away! I hate it.
Oh, what, Dreaming Mary?
Yeah, I hate that one. It just freaks me out. But the main thing though was that the main character's name was Sandra, and I just remember her being kind of annoying too. So maybe that's why she wasn't like it wasn't the most popular.
Now,
But
I guess to end this one off, because if we keep going, we're gonna go all night. But
oh yeah, oh god, this is getting on.
yeah. So I figured now is the time to finally tie it off with the I guess the most unique I'd say of these, because all these that we've talked about are like RPG Maker styled games. This one is a visual novel, and it's a very famous now visual novel known as Doki Doki Literature Club.
Wait. We forgot to mention the purple people.
Do you want to give a quick synopsis of that?
Basically, I bet you've probably seen the images of it, but if you've ever seen like this weird purple fucked up face, that's from a Japanese RPG or horror game called, I think it's Ao Oni, and it's basically these kids get locked in a house and they have to escape the house, and there's these giant purple people, and it's kind of hilarious, but scary, but also hilarious because like just look at their faces and you'll laugh. So, anyways, that was a quick synopsis. But anyways,
I haven't
Doki
really
Doki
played that
Literature
one
Club.
much.
I haven't played that one either. I just remember watching a playthrough and laughing because it just looks so ridiculous.
Yeah. But okay, so anyways, Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
This game came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Now,
It
obviously,
blew up.
now this is where I will say, if you have not played and you don't know anything about it, stop listening now. Spoiler.
Stop listening and
flag.
play it.
Yeah, spoiler flag right here.
Yep.
If you hadn't already stepped away before for spoilers, but
Yeah.
obviously Doki Doki Literature Club, it was created by Team Salvato, particularly Dan Salvato, who was previously known, he was most famous for, he made a mod for Smash Brothers Brawl called Project M, which was basically just, it made it play more like Melee
Yep.
before it got supposedly C&D'd or something. There was some weird shit that happened there. Then he, out of nowhere, comes out with Doki Doki Literature Club,
Yep.
which is a visual novel that looks very, very unassuming, like it's just a visual novel about high school girls.
Yeah.
Although when you start the game, so I played this game out of a recommendation from a friend. He didn't tell me anything about it. He just said, you got to try
Which is
Doki
how
Doki
you should
Literature
play it. So again,
Honestly, yes.
if you haven't watched or played it yet, just don't listen to this because you got to experience
Yeah,
it.
click
If you
away.
spoil it, it sucks.
But so, anyways, we're gonna anything beyond here, spoilers. So when you start the game up, I had been told to play this from a mutual friend. He said it's a cool visual novel. You'll like it. It's got a funny twist. Don't worry. And I was like, okay.
All right.
So I start the game up because it's free. It's a free game to play. This was before it was on Steam, but you can. It's free no matter what because it runs off. It runs off like a freeware visual novel engine called Renplay. But so you start the game up, and immediately it comes up with a warning saying, this is not a game for the faint of heart, and like there are some shocking and disturbing moments in the game, which immediately I'm kind of like, okay, good to know, I
Alright.
guess. So then you start the game up and you play as just this generic high school boy. You can name him whatever, and
Yep.
you're starting your normal day of high school, and you run into your childhood friend Sayori, who you haven't been talking to much recently, and she basically passive aggressively forces you to join the literature club, which she is the vice president of.
Yes.
And then you meet the three other members. So there's Sayori, your friend, and then you meet Natsuki, the tsundere,
Yep.
Yuri, the tall, shrinking violet, and Monica, the
President.
club president, who is very she's a bit unsettling from the get-go, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
When you first meet her,
She has a vibe about her that you're not sure
yeah.
about.
she's very unsettlingly positive in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So you go through the game and it plays like a traditional visual novel. Like you go through, you get occasional questions will pop up, and then the gimmick with the game, because you're in a literature club, is you'll have to write poetry in between segments.
Yep.
And basically, the poetry game is you'll have these three little chibi sprites of Yuri, Sayori, and Natsuki in the corner, and not Monica though. Interestingly enough, but you'll click on different words that come up, and the certain doki will jump in the air
Yep.
because the characters are referred to as dokis by the fandom.
Oh, fun.
But you'll click on the different characters, different words, and the certain ones will jump for certain words. And basically, you want to pick the words for the girl that you're the most interested in pursuing her route, as you would say.
Yep.
So you get through the game and you follow, and there's occasional like differences in plot. Nothing's too out of the ordinary. It's kind of a crazy plot. You learn about a little bit about Yuri. She has an obsession with horror novels, and she's very self-conscious.
Yep.
You run into Natsuki, who's a tsundere, where she's very abrasive, but she's actually kind of sweet on the inside. She
Yeah.
loves manga, which she hides in the classroom. And then there's Sayori, who's your childhood friend, who's always late and is kind of
The ditzy airhead.
a little bit of an airhead. And then there's
Yeah.
Monica, who's like the super perfect one, who is
Smart.
a little bit too friendly.
Yes.
So you go through the game, and eventually you come up to the upcoming Culture Festival, because that's a thing in Japan.
Yes.
And
I wish we had those.
yeah, but
Anyways.
so you end up going through. It changes up depending on which character you have the most values with, but eventually it's implied that Sayori has feelings for you, and then she admits that she's suffering from massive depression out of nowhere, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
You're like, where did this come from? All right.
I'll quote the Game Grumps playthrough, like of Dan saying, "That's not as fun." And
No.
so then you basically she'll confess her love for you, and you can choose to confess your love for her, and then
Did
you
you confess
agree
your
to-
love?
I don't remember. It's been a while since I played vanilla Doki Doki Literature Club, but so yeah, then you get to the next day where you're going for the Culture Festival, and you show up at the school, and well, no, you go out to meet Sayori because you were planning to go together, and she doesn't show up.
And you're like, oh,
And-
that's weird.
Yeah, so you kind of brushed off thinking, oh, she's just slept in. She'll show up. And then you go to the school, and then you run into Monica, who is kind of unsettling a little with how she's talking, and then implies that maybe you should go check on Sayori.
Yeah.
So then you run back and you go to her house, which is unlocked, and you go to her room. And you open the door,
Dun, dun.
and she's hung herself.
Yep. And it's just completely out of left field.
Yeah,
You're just like,
and it's
what?
My jaw was on the floor at this point, because I was literally like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, what is this game?
What happened?
I'm like, okay, I thought like the dark themes were like this depression and the depression stuff and like, oh, it's gay, it's gonna have some darker themes to it, and then I'm like, what is this?
What just happened?
And then all of a sudden the game glitches out and crashes.
Yep.
And it restarts.
Yep.
And when you restart it, Sayori's sprite on the title screen is all
It's no
glitched
longer
out.
there.
No, it's a glitched out mess.
Yeah.
And you restart the game, and the second Sayori, it restarts like normal. Until Sayori appears, and she's a glitched out mess, and then the game crashes again.
Yep.
And restarts, and Sayori's no longer there.
Yep. And
then
you're
the
just
game-
like, alright.
Yep.
woohoo."
And then the game progresses on as if Sayori never existed. Where now
The-
Yuri is the vice president.
And you're just so unsettled because you're just like,
Oh yeah,
what
well,
the...
because now the game is glitching out all the time.
Yes.
And there's all these really random... The game is 100% RNG. Like, there's a lot of random events that all just randomly happen.
Oh, yeah.
And so now you can choose... Basically, this enters Act 2 of the game, and this is where shit gets really fucking weird. So, like, all these characters have, like, issues and stuff, and it's like... You start getting closer to Yuri, and Yuri gets very, very unsettling the more you talk to her.
Yeah.
And Natsuki starts glitching out and getting even more unsettling, and then you start learning. You find out going through, like, you'll get like random notes, like you'll get random poems with like blood streaks on them, and you're like,
You're
what?
just like, alright, why not?
And then there's a point where Yuri leaves the room for a bit, and she's taking a while, so you go and find her, and you find out she's a cutter.
Yep.
And then the game just kind of rewinds back to before that happened.
Yeah.
And Monica's basically like, oh, you didn't see that.
Yeah. Nothing happened. What are you talking about?
And then you also find out Natsuki's... It's implied that Natsuki's father's abusive in the background.
Yep.
And then there's also like a jump scare where... So all of a sudden jumpy scare things start happening, and you can run into a jump scare where Natsuki like starts having like a freaking psychotic breakdown, and then her neck just snaps and she jumps into the screen at you.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
You're just
And
like,
then-
it just gets more and more pleasant as you play.
Eventually you get to the end of Act 2 where you're alone with Yuri, and she's completely unhinged at this point. And she gives you her final poem, which is just straight up covered in blood and piss.
Pleasant.
Yeah.
Ew, she peed on it?
She covered it, as she said, with her scent.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
What
this game gets really fucked up.
Yeah.
And then
Clearly.
you'll get the option to confess either you love her or you don't. It doesn't matter what you say, either way. After you press your option, she then stabs herself 3 times and dies.
Yep.
And then the game gets stuck on like a fast forward loop where you slowly see her start to decompose.
Love that.
Yeah, like the blood, her eyes all of a sudden, like the color goes away, and then her blood starts darkening, and yeah, it's pleasant.
Well,
and then
that's real pleasant, you know, just like a
yeah,
nice
and
little
it's implied that you were
happy
stuck.
game.
It's implied that you were stuck there the entire weekend.
Oh.
So then Monday rolls around, and Natsuki walks into the room and then throws up everywhere because Yuri's corpse is everywhere. And then
Yeah.
Monica basically reveals her true intentions of,
Just
this
Monica.
wasn't supposed to happen, and then she deletes Yuri and Natsuki.
Yep.
So then this is where the game gets really meta.
Yes.
So what's fun about Doki Doki Literature Club is you were supposed to have... The way you're supposed to play it is you're supposed to have like the system files open at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to watch them as the game goes by, because you'll find out Monica, behind the scenes, has been messing with the game.
Oh, that's so... I didn't know that. I didn't know that you actually could see her messing
Oh yeah,
with the game.
like
I didn't know
because
that.
she's not a good... The implication is she's not a good coder,
Yeah.
so she fucks up the code. That's why the game is super glitchy after Act 1.
Ah.
But what she does is she messes with Sayori to make her depression more prominent,
Yeah.
and she messes with Yuri's head, causing more of her issues, which is why Yuri is super psychotic towards the end. And then Natsuki kind of doesn't really get messed with as much. She just gets kind of turned off at points because
Yeah.
she'll be trying to like give away what's going on. And the biggest implication of this that you'll notice on a repeated playthrough is that all the characters stand kind of at that like side like 3/4 view, kind of like most visual novels. But yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay, you got like wigged out there for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were kind of like going like you did a little but then you came back. So I was just like,
Okay.
okay.
But yeah. So all the other girls are in like that standard like visual novel like 3/4 pose. Monica stares directly at the player because it's basically another subtle clue that she's self-aware.
Yes.
She understands this is a game, and so the third act of the game is you're just in a room with just Monica because that's all that's
Monica.
left. Yeah, that's actually a running fan game, but
Oh, really?
well, I don't think it's called Just Monica, but it's literally
Just
the whole
Monica.
after like where it's just Monica kind of thing, but yeah, so basically you're stuck in basically all it is she'll ask you a bunch of questions and you basically get to a point where you just can't progress anymore. Because this is what Monica wanted. It's just you and her. And
Nope.
she's not even talking about the character in game anymore. She's talking to you the player directly.
Yes.
But this gets even more meta because here's one of the second screamers in the game. If you're actually recording the game, like the game is programmed to detect if you have like a recording software on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you're recording the game, she'll actually notice, and she'll be like, "Oh, well, I guess hi everybody," and she'll be like, "How do I look?" And it'll get you to look close to the screen, and then she'll have like a screamer face real quick. Yeah.
Game just
So-
gets more and more creepy for this.
Oh yeah, Dan Salvato is a fucking genius.
Yeah, he really is. Cause I hate it.
But yeah. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go into the files and delete Monica, just like she deleted all the others.
Yep.
And when you do that, she gets deleted in the game. And she'll be like, "Why? What did I do? Why'd you do this?" And then it will reset back to default, only without Monica. It's just the other three.
Yep.
So then you start playing the game now, and it's like back to normal with Sayori. But now Sayori is the president of the literature club.
Oh no.
And it goes kind of normal. Like, it seems normal until all of a sudden Sayori implies that she wanted Monica gone. And then all of a sudden it becomes like, nope, wait, no, it's not normal all of a sudden.
Nope.
And then
Nope.
Monica has to come back and like basically just delete everything because it's like there's no saving this. I thought it could work without me, and then that's
Nope.
basically how it ends. And then you have to reset the game 100% to get it.
To get it
You
to
basically
work
have
again.
to go to restart it. You have to like delete it and reinstall it, but because the game's so fucked up by that point.
Yeah.
But it's
So funny.
that game is a fucking experience, and
Yeah.
I am so used to it now because I've seen it so many times. But my god, that first playthrough was so unsettling.
Oh yeah. I think like one of the funniest reaction videos was the Game Grumps where they were both just like where it was Aaron had played it, right? And Danny
Aaron knew for the most part.
Yeah.
Danny, on the other hand,
did not
No.
know. And the reaction, it's funny to see people's reactions because they're so genuine. And they're just so like, what? Like, what is going on?
oh, it's one of the reasons why I can't let's play it because it wouldn't be genuine.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because I've played the game so many times now, I wouldn't get a reaction.
Yeah.
It's like why I wouldn't like let's play like the Stanley Parable because it's like
You've already, like, experienced
I've
it.
experienced it and it's not the same. It's not that's a game that you can't fake a first experience with it because it's
just so, like, what?
it's
Well, I
such a
feel like-
genuine it's like such a genuine thing.
I feel like, though, that ends up kind of being with a lot of these games that we talked about because some of the the endings, like the twist endings and stuff, like I don't
yeah.
like if I played that now, like my reaction would be so muted because I knew it was coming, and like some of them,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the witch's house ending, like that one was just like what, and then Masao too, and I mean the Mad
Dreaming
Father,
Mary,
also
Mad
Dreaming
Father,
Mary, all of them, like I definitely think if you played a playthrough now, it just wouldn't be as genuine because you already knew what was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny because Doki Doki Literature Club actually got a full-on console release recently.
Yeah. I
with
remember you telling
Doki
me that.
Doki Literature Club Plus, which
Yep.
adds in some additional like story stuff to like actually flesh out the girls.
Mhm.
And the Doki Doki Literature Club community actually has a massive modding community now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
like,
you were telling me you were playing with a mod recently.
I've been playing the Blue Skies mod recently, which is so there's stop if you ever want to like learn more, go over to like the Reddit board.
Oh, yeah.
Doki
Go to Reddit
Doki
for
Literature Club.
everything.
There's like a Reddit board for Doki Doki Literature Club mods,
Mhm.
but I've been playing a bunch of them, and they are fascinating because they basically take the core idea like of these characters
Mhm.
and they change them for like different things. Like there's the one I'm playing now is called Blue Skies, and it's basically it's what if it was a normal game, like a normal visual novel, but
Yep.
it's still kept all of the psychological stuff.
Ah. Yes.
Like it's not a horror game anymore, but these girls still have fucking issues.
Yeah, these girls still have problems in it.
Oh yeah, and like each girl has their own like, well, other than Monica doesn't have one in Blue Skies because of time constraints, but
Mhm.
the other three all have their own fleshed out storylines, and they are depressing at times and very deep. And the game has a fully original soundtrack that goes along with it.
Uh-huh.
Like it's like brand new like art and stuff. It's cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing about it is though, because it's a normal game and Monica's not self-aware anymore, they actually changed Monica's sprite so she has the same 3/4 view like all the other characters.
That's funny.
It's a cool mod.
It's a nice touch, though. You know.
Oh, it makes sense
Yeah.
in hindsight. But yeah, these games are deep. Like all.
Yeah.
I honestly, I wasn't expecting this to go get as deep as it did.
I'm not surprised because I mean a lot of them, like when you actually think about the major plot lines and stuff, like all of them are really messed up. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're into you need something to spook up your Halloween, definitely check these out because
And the best part is
They'll
most of
spook
them
'em
are
up.
free.
yeah, most of them are free. So they're free and they're spooky and they're perfect for Halloween. But they'll also
yeah.
probably make you startled and think about a lot of things deeply.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Because that's what we do on this podcast. We think deeply. And we didn't really talk that much about anime. Wow.
well, we talked about a bunch of games that had very anime art styles, so
Yeah, but it was a game, so we won.
very true. Still no collecting though.
Nope. Well, I mean,
collect-
you
you
collected
can't
these.
collect something. You can't collect something without a physical form.
You collected the experiences of playing these games. Bravo.
Yeah.
Play the Purple
Alright.
Man game. It's funny.
Yeah. I mean, some of these are all generally kind of funny at times, but
Oh yeah.
anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. You can
Woo!
find the gaming. You can find the Gaming and Collecting Podcast on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify Podcast.
He's
We're also
fed up
now
with
on
me today.
You're also they're also now available on YouTube, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Yes.
And once again, guys, thank you for joining us as we discuss the games that shaped us. Happy Halloween, everybody!
Happy Halloween! Go play
Go
some
get some-
spooky games.
Go get some candy. Go get some candy, everybody.
Don't take candy from strangers.
Yeah, don't do that.
You'll end up like some of the characters in these games. It's fucked up.
Well, that just got dark.
Yep. Happy Halloween!
All right, we'll see you all later.
Bye!
Bye.